It is the agenda for the 21st century you're living in today. For a brave new world where everything that you cherished and held true will no longer exist.
Our movement is about replacing a failed and corrupt political establishment with a new government controlled by you, the American people. The Washington establishment and the financial and media corporations that fund it exist for only one reason: to protect and enrich itself. The establishment has trillions of dollars at stake in this election. For those who control the levers of power in Washington and for the global special interest, they partner with these people that don't have your good in mind. Our campaign represents a true existential threat like they haven't seen before. This is not simply another four-year election. This is a crossroads in the history of our civilization that will determine whether or not we, the people, reclaim control over our government. The political establishment that is trying to stop us is the same group responsible for our disastrous trade deals, massive illegal immigration, and economic and foreign policies that have bled our country dry. The political establishment has brought about the destruction of our factories and our jobs as they flee to Mexico, China, and other countries all around the world. It's a global power structure that is responsible for the economic decisions that have robbed our working class, stripped our country of its wealth, and put that money into the pockets of a handful of large corporations and political entities. This is a struggle for the survival of our nation, and this will be our last chance to save it. This election will determine whether we're a free nation or whether we have only the illusion of democracy, but are in fact controlled by a small handful of global special interests rigging the system, and our system is rigged. This is reality. You know it, they know it, I know it, and pretty much the whole world knows it. The Clinton machine is at the center of this power structure. We've seen this firsthand in the WikiLeaks documents, in which Hillary Clinton meets in secret with international banks to plot the destruction of U.S. sovereignty in order to enrich these global financial powers, her special interest friends, and her donors. Honestly, she should be locked up. The most powerful weapon deployed by the Clintons is the corporate media, the press. Let's be clear on one thing. The corporate media in our country is no longer involved in journalism. They're a political special interest, no different than any lobbyist or other financial entity with a total political agenda, and the agenda is not for you, it's for themselves. Anyone who challenges their control is deemed a sexist, a racist, a xenophobe. They will lie, and then again, they will do worse than that. They will do whatever is necessary. The Clintons are criminals, remember that. This is well documented, and the establishment that protects them has engaged in a massive cover-up of widespread criminal activity at the State Department and the Clinton Foundation in order to keep the Clintons in power. They knew they would throw every lie they could at me and my family and my loved ones. They knew they would stop at nothing to try to stop me. Nevertheless, I take all of these slings and arrows gladly for you. I take them for our movement so that we can have our country back. I knew this day would arrive. It's only a question of when. And I knew the American people would rise above it and vote for the future they deserve. The only thing that can stop this corrupt machine is you. The only force strong enough to save our country is us. The only people brave enough to vote out this corrupt establishment is you, the American people. Our great civilization has come upon a moment of reckoning. I didn't need to do this, folks, believe me. I built a great company, and I had a wonderful life. I could have enjoyed the fruits and benefits of years of successful business deals and businesses for myself and my family, instead of going through this absolute horror show of lies, deceptions, malicious attacks. Who would have thought? I'm doing it because this country has given me so much, and I feel so strongly that it's my turn to give back to the country that I love. I'm doing this for the people and for the movement, and we will take back this country for you, and we will make America great again.
Election officials keeping an eye out for voter fraud amid concerns that hackers could cause problems. Experts warning that someone could change the voter registration list or party affiliation, impacting the election without altering any votes.
The European Union is giving Belgium until Monday to support a free trade deal with Canada. EU trade negotiators say that they are pushing to get Belgium's approval before the deadline set by Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. All other EU members support the Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement with Canada, but Belgium still lacks the backing from its French-speaking region Wallonia, which is critical of the deal.
Michael Moore is facing growing backlash over comments he made about Donald Trump's supporters. In an interview with Rolling Stone, the filmmaker called the GOP nominee's entire base, quote, legal terrorists.
Moore went on to characterize Trump as a pedophile that needs to be protected from the American population.
If you're there and you're protesting and you do these actions, you will be attacked at Trump rallies. That's what we know.
So that's part of the process of eliciting the reaction.
The whole point of it is we know that Trump's people will freak out, his security team will freak out, and his supporters will lose their.
Both those operatives who were in these videos have now resigned, and they did receive money from the DNC. They were subcontractors. Isn't this exactly the kind of behavior you all have been complaining about?
Well, it's a video of somebody who has a track record of doctoring videos. These people have resigned, whether they were talking to him on camera or whether there's some snippet there that's been manipulated and taken out of context, I don't know. It's actually the first time I've seen the video, George.
Winter is coming. Okay, that joke might be a little old, but really, we're about to have a pretty chilly couple of months. Forecasters are predicting a La Nina event in the Pacific Ocean. Basically, that means people up north are going to want to invest in some space heaters. La Nina is a recurring climate pattern like El Nino, just with the opposite effect. El Nino brings warmer ocean temperatures, while La Nina comes with cooler temps. And from the looks of it, the US will be striped with different weather patterns. Southern states can expect drier than normal conditions. Northern states, on the other hand, will be colder and wetter. And middle states might get a mix of both. Another forecast from the atmospheric and environmental research firm sees the cold extending down a little further on the map to include cities like Chicago and Washington, D.C. So if you like snow, this is probably really good news. But if you don't, well, better luck next time.
أشهد أن محمد رسول الله الله أكبر الله أكبر.
Outrage. Soldiers stunned. There is outrage that is boiling over this morning after thousands of veterans are ordered to pay back bonuses a decade after many of them risked their lives on the front lines.
The Pentagon is ordering about 10,000 National Guard soldiers from California to pay back their enlistment bonuses, saying an audit reveals they were overpaid. The money was meant to encourage enlistment during the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan more than 10 years ago. If the soldiers refuse, they could risk being fined or taxed even more.
We see glaciers melting, ice sheets are melting, worldwide. Actually, at times it seems like the planet is changing right before our eyes. So when the scientists look at these changes, what are they seeing and how do they interpret it?
Well, we are remaking the face of the Earth through climate change. The simplest thing to understand is that heat kills. People die in heat waves all the time, not just in the United States, but worldwide. And one thing we're almost sure about is the frequency of very intense heat waves is going to increase. And in fact, we could have, by the end of the century, places in the United States where it's simply not safe to be outside during parts of the summer because it's so hot and so much humidity in the atmosphere. We've got sea level rise happening, which is making coastal flooding more common along the coast. This is a change that's already happening. It's going to get more and more common in the future. A storm that causes the flooding of the sort that Hurricane Sandy caused, which happens maybe once every 500 years now in the northeastern United States, could happen 100 years or even 50 years from now, every 20 years, every 10 years, maybe even more frequently. So we are changing the fundamental aspects of climate that allow us to live a stable and, in this country, relatively wealthy life. We shouldn't undermine that so casually. We need to start taking measures to cut the gases before it gets too late to avoid a real crisis. For the last 15 or 20 years, scientists have identified things happening. For instance, the coral reefs, the Great Barrier Reef is dying. Forests in the western United States are being eaten up by bugs that basically wouldn't be able to overwinter if the climate weren't getting warmer. We're getting sea level rise everywhere, which is causing excess coastal flooding, and we're getting more and more heat waves. These are effects which people are seeing in their own backyards. So things are changing. It's no longer an abstract thing for the future. It's happening now in our world. And we're seeing a change in the way politicians look at this problem. President Obama has made it a lead part of his legacy that he wants to start solving the problem. And he, in fact, has put in place very strong regulations to start limiting these gases from motor vehicles and from electric power plants, the two biggest sources.
Across the remote district of Kalungu is a site of banana plantations which have been ravaged by the drought experienced in the area. Planted close to an acre, a closer look at the plantation reveals that there will not be single harvest here. On this sprawling farm of 2 acres, this farmer took a loan and planted beans. She has now lost hope of an harvest. Many of the residents here are predominantly farmers, but with the drought which has hit the district for now close to 2 years without any single bumper harvest, spells doom.
A UK mother horrified when she finds out that the 12-year-old child she's fostering is actually a 21-year-old trained jihadi terrorist. The guy was from Afghanistan. His name is Jamal. You can see a picture of him right there. And the family first sounded the alarm when his siblings noticed that he was really fit for his age and then he was also able to shoot a gun. He also threatened to kill his foster parents and had Taliban material on his cell phone. It's now feared that more terrorists could be posing as children to get into the UK from refugee camps. You're saying this is
all day, vehicles crammed with household items have been on the Mosul to Erbil Road. Few would have dared to make this journey a week ago, but people feel safer with the Iraqi army and Peshmerga forces advancing on Mosul.
Afghans are returning to their homeland in the thousands from neighbouring Pakistan and Iran. Their sheer numbers are causing a new headache for the government and aid agencies struggling to cope. The United Nations has appealed for $150 million to help, but officials say donors have so far given just under a third of that.
We've only got 48 million so far, and our costs are certainly going to be running quite high.
Police and UN peacekeepers are searching for 174 inmates on the run in northern Haiti after a massive prison escape. Authorities say the inmates at the Archive prison broke into an area used by the guards and stole at least 5 rifles. One guard was shot dead. 11 inmates were caught during the break. Police have set up checkpoints around the prison, hoping to catch more before it's too late.
One person is dead and 3 others injured after several explosions near a park in the Japanese city of Utsunomiya.
A 1996 MCI passenger bus transporting 44 passengers struck the rear of a Freightliner truck with a trailer in the number 3 lane. CHP and fire rescue personnel arrived within minutes, and triage was immediately established by fire rescue. Tragically, 13 people were killed, including the driver of the bus. Additionally, 31 passengers were injured and were transported to 3 local hospitals.
Now, 5 French nationals have been killed in a plane crash in Malta. A dashcam video captured the moment the plane went down, though we should warn you, some may find the video disturbing. But you can see the plane as it plummets, then crashes to the ground and bursts into flames. This happened shortly after takeoff from the Malta International Airport. It's unclear as things stand how the aircraft came down.
The mystery behind the Bermuda Triangle might be solved. At least that's what a Science Channel show claims. The Bermuda Triangle is an area in the Atlantic Ocean between Bermuda, Florida, and Puerto Rico that's famous for unexplained disappearances of ships and planes. And according to 2 meteorologists who spoke to the Science Channel for an episode of What on Earth, the mystery of the waters could be connected to some oddly shaped clouds. Those meteorologists looked at satellite photos of the Bermuda Triangle and found hexagon-shaped clouds right above the area. The pair theorizes that the clouds above the triangle might be causing, quote, air bombs, or microbursts that could force powerful winds downward and cause massive waves. But there are a couple of holes in their theory. First, this weather pattern doesn't just happen in this area. These kinds of cloud formations reportedly happen in a lot of mid to high latitude locations, typically in colder seasons. Also, those clouds might not actually be causing air bombs. An NBC meteorologist says those formations don't look like microbursts.
Residents of San Francisco's Millennium Tower recently got a sinking feeling about their condominiums. When this sleek 58-story high-rise opened in 2009, it was promoted as the tallest and most luxurious residence in downtown San Francisco.
The views were wonderful. It's located in a perfect place.
But in May, residents learned the tower had sunk 16 inches. Even more troubling, it's now leaning, 2 inches at the base and even more at the top, allowing this golf ball to roll across the floor on its own.
I think the biggest issue for most of us is, what if there is an earthquake? Most of us are not confident that the building would be secure in that.
Despite cracks appearing throughout the building, the developers insist the skyscraper is safe.
The structural integrity, the seismic integrity have not been harmed, but it has settled beyond its original expectation, and we want to make sure that it stops settling.
This intelligent human-like robot is Jiajia. Developed by the University of Science and Technology of China, Jiajia has the ability of understanding human language, detecting facial expressions, and making body movements. With uncanny physical similarities to humans, such human-like robots have been stealing the show at the 2016 World Robot Conference in Beijing.
The 2016 World Robot Conference is now underway in Beijing and has drawn in key industry players and associations from countries such as the U.S., Germany, Japan, South Korea, and Israel. One of this year's main attractions are the walking and talking smart robots. Omar Khan tells us more.
Interacting with humans. This is definitely the most attractive sight to most visitors.
小安，小安，请介绍一下你自己。
您好，我是小爱服务机器人，不仅颜值高、气质好，而且智商一流，知识渊博。
小安，小安，我的信用卡丢了怎么办？
您先别着急，我马上带您去找柜员姐姐办理挂失手续，尽早办理挂失才能及时止损哦。
Little Ai can answer questions in various fields with professional knowledge. She can also walk around to help people. And you can see her in different fields like finance, telecommunications, and tax systems.
We start the program with the latest developments in the South China Sea. China's Ministry of National Defense says it has lodged an official complaint with Washington after a U.S. Navy-guided missile destroyed the USS Tecate sailed through Chinese territorial waters near Xisha Island without China's permission.
The U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for East Asian and Pacific Affairs, Daniel Russell, met with Philippine defense and foreign ministers on Monday after Duterte's remarks last week. Duterte quickly backtracked from his comments, saying that he did not plan to sever his country's 7-decade-old alliance with the U.S. Russell signaled that many people around the world were becoming increasingly worried about Duterte's repeated tirades. He said U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry ran Philippine Foreign Secretary Prefecto Yasay on Monday to discuss the alliance.